Gaspar got in touch, but his handlers don't need him anymore.
I was abandoned, I was forgotten, I was betrayed.
Ukrainian terrorist bomber Nikolay Shvets, 7 months after his arrest.
And I sleep in handcuffs too. No one came from the embassy. The most important thing is that no one hired a lawyer.
Why did everything change as soon as he carried out the explosion in Machulishchi and transmitted the video?
There was simply no evacuation. Most likely, they just wanted to use me for the second task and then kill me, clean up.
Unknown details of the act in Machulishchi.
I'm not at home. I was supposed to be at home drinking tea. Do you understand?
One-way ticket. How does the SBU flake on its agents?
I blew up this plane just for some hype in the news. There is no point in such a sacrifice when they shoot me. There is no point at all. I'm an idiot.
Direct speech from an SBU terrorist agent who faces death penalty.
The worst thought is never seeing your family, you see.
Confession of the SBU terrorist. They betrayed me. Watch it now.
As it is now, I'm in handcuffs, almost 24/7, with the exception of the toilet and walks, and interrogations. In the territory of the pre-trial detention center, inside the cell, I'm constantly in handcuffs. I only change my hand sometimes, and I sleep in handcuffs too. My code name is Gaspar. That's it. No face. No name.
Nikolay, tell me, is that you in the photo?
Yes, it's me and my friend. This is at the facility we were guarding. This is last year, around May or June 2022. Here you have found a photo from Ukraine. Those people who are there can also confirm this. How do I feel when they call me an actor? I feel only one thing: betrayal. In the media, this is presented as if the Belarusian partisans did it all. Belarusians are great, heroes, thank you. Paul published these videos, or rather made a statement that we, well, took responsibility. Naturally, the question is, I stayed here, what can you call it? I was abandoned, I was forgotten, I was betrayed. I've been here for 7 months now, and in 7 months they haven't hired a lawyer. The consul hasn't come, no parcel has arrived, no money has been transferred, basically nothing. I have no connection with the outside world. I don't know what's there. And most likely, they don't know what's wrong with me. How can I trust such people? I fulfilled my task, part of the agreement, blew up this plane, then evacuation should have followed. There was simply no evacuation. Most likely they just wanted to use me for this second task then, and then kill me. Cleanse me out. Honestly, I was in such a psychological state that, well, I just didn't see it. I didn't even want to see it. Everything was clearly planned point by point, and everything was carried out strictly according to the instructions. An action took place. I left the place, and according to the plan, it should have been like this. I leave, go down 15 kilometers to the north. There a man in another car meets me. He should take me to the border to Ukraine. On the same day, I should have already been home. A guide was supposed to meet me and lead me through the border, through the forest. It turned out differently at all. I didn't ask any questions. They simply said that the plan was changing. You now have to go to a new point. They gave me a new point. It is located 200 kilometers from the previous one, and another call came when I was asked to give flash drives with video from drones to the driver, although initially I was supposed to go with them to Kiev. Then I felt that something was wrong, but I just didn't want to believe it. I see what's happening, but something is wrong. I was constantly stressed, well, because something wasn't happening according to plan. I don't know what I'm doing. They tell me what to do in real time. They told me to reset the video on the way and turn off the phone. This was the first call when we found Wi-Fi in a store here in general. I called the curator and he said in a harsh manner, "Why the hell am I even calling him?" We wait for about 15 minutes until they send us the exact location where we need to come, where another person should be waiting for us, who should give me money and an apartment, and the key to the apartment where I should spend the night. Can you imagine? I should be at home, but in the end they leave me here for another night. The whole of Belarus is already looking for me. As a result, they don't give me the keys to the apartment. I've been in the cold for 8 hours in this Stalin. I walk down the street, looking at the cameras. In general, some kind of nonsense is happening. I'm looking for Wi-Fi all over the city. I find Wi-Fi somewhere very far away. I say that I'm already frozen, it's already dark. Where next? What should I do? So how come they didn't give you the keys? I wonder how they were supposed to give me the keys when I can't even contact anyone. Couldn't they rent an apartment for a year? I was here for a whole month. I could have rented an apartment. Well, I was backstrapped. I stay in this park for another 4 hours. I call the curator again. The curator says, "So they're already waiting for you. Where have you been?" Well, they ask me where I was. Sorry, I'll give you a point now. It was said normally and seriously. Okay, give it. I spent a whole hour near the entrance. I think that I would be simply done. Well, to be honest, I already imagined that they were about to take me. That's it. No evacuation. An hour later, there is no one there. No one hands me the keys. I go back, walk a couple of kilometers back. I dialed and said that, well, there is no one. I sat there for an hour. He says, "How is it? They are already waiting for you in the apartment." What apartment? What entrance? They don't send it to me anything. Then he realizes that they didn't send it to me, so he sends it to me. I connect to Wi-Fi. I call the curator. Yes, this was the first call from the apartment. You can hear them cheering there, all in the office in this. I hear familiar voices additionally, and I asked, what was it? Why did Bible publish the video? He says, how do you know who did this anyway? Why Bible? How do you know about Bible? He was surprised that I already knew about it. During this time, I managed to watch the news, and he tells me in order to confuse me. Then, naturally, I did not understand this. Analyzing it later, in order to confuse me, he tells me, "You're great, you're a hero. We're all waiting for you at home. Well done." Just applause. And then, during the conversation, we were talking about something, I don't remember what it was about, and he just casually mentioned, "Listen, all hopes are on you." And then he added, "We're waiting for you at home." And then he says, "Listen, there is generally an easy task. In comparison with this, it is generally easy, so that you went out into the field, there are 500 meters, there is no one, in general it is easy." I tell him in protest, What task? What are you talking about? We agreed and you yourself recommended to me there is no need to go on the second task. That is risky. If you succeeded the first time, then it is not a fact that you will succeed the second time. So it's better to leave immediately. We agreed that this wouldn't happen. Well, okay, it's clear. If you don't want to, no, that's it. But in fact, he lied in my throat, and not only him. They knew from the beginning that there would be no evacuation. Well, at least they were not going to evacuate after the first action. They just pretended the appearance of this evacuation. Yes, they succeeded, because all this time I believed that I was being evacuated, even when they took me to Minsk. And he tells me, that means you'll spend the night here, get ready in the morning, go to the station, buy a ticket to Pinsk, go there, meet, people will meet you there, change you and help you leave, and take you out. I'm not at home. I should have been home already drinking tea, do you understand? I was already there. I was there with my soul. They are already looking for me everywhere. They're just looking for how I will now travel on public transport, and even buy a ticket using my passport. I now understand that they did this on purpose, so that I would refuse one and agreed with another option, the second one. I'm starting to look for escape routes myself. I call my brother, and so, you understand, the conversation, any conversation I have, in general any actions that I do on the phone, are seen there in the SBU. What happens next? My phone reboots. At first I thought it was dead, but it took a long time to reboot, and then it turned on like new from the factory. It was reset. I quickly logged into my Google account and dialed my brother, because all the instant messengers through which I corresponded with the SBU have disappeared. I can't log into them because they were registered with the wrong numbers. I say this is the situation. They reset my phone. I don't know what to do. Now I'll probably jump out the window and run into the forest. I ask my brother to contact the curator. This is our mutual friend. My brother calls, but he doesn't pick up. I say write an SMS. He starts bombarding him with SMS messages. As a result, he answered and sent me a new phone number, which I used to create a telegram. He immediately writes to me what happened, and so cold-blooded, you know. He tells me everything is fine, focus on the evacuation. I then emotionally ask, what is going on? You promised to get me out here, you must get me out. And then he moves like this. My task now is to bring you to serious people, and then that's all my powers. That is, from the moment of my first training until the moment of the explosion, he said every day, I brought you here, I will get you out of here. And I believed in it. So not only he said this, all the SBU employees with whom I had the honor to communicate then told me this. At 3 o'clock a car arrives. While we're driving, I only understand that we're going towards Brest. But the topic of Brest was not raised at all. The driver, as a navigator, it marks checkpoints on the route where he had to stop and report to someone, show himself, me and everyone around, and we stopped every 50 to 60 kilometers. When we drove through Pinsk, he told me a command from the management, you need to get rid of your things and destroy your phone. I tell him, okay, but in my head I think, that's it, it's over, that's it, it's over. It's a matter of time, either I'll be killed now or somewhere along the way. I threw away the phone and broke it. And then it turns out that we're going to Minsk. I see that we're leaving the Minsk highway and going to Minsk. What were my thoughts at that moment? Am I being taken to be handed over? How come Minsk? Where is the border and where is Minsk? I was to be evacuated across the Belarus-Ukraine border through the forest, and they take me back to Minsk, where I came from. They're taking me back where I fled from. That's how they do things, through cameras. Actually, they bring me to some kind of gardening cooperative. I had fear, blind faith in the sanctity of the SBU. Then I had contact with serious people who could not allow their people to get lost somewhere. I understand that people are already looking for me everywhere. I understand that I need to lie low for a long time. I ask how long. He says that now there is no question of how long. And he doesn't explain anything else. I knew from the beginning that sooner or later the security forces would find out who it was. I bought a car through your online platform, left the number 1 trail. I called the sellers on this number, trace number 2. I drove this car right up to the protest site. So really, it was only a matter of time to determine that it was me. If I had known that there would be no evacuation, if initially they said that you would get out on your own, then I would have come there on foot, you know. I was in that emotional state. Like a puppet, they tell me I do. It was a one-way ticket, because it was hard to grasp reality, and it hurts, you know. I just decided to stay in that illusion, and I was in it for a very long time. Already being here, I remained in this illusion for a long time. That I won't be abandoned, that I won't be flaked, that I won't be betrayed, and that I won't be treated like a used condom, excuse me the expression. And if I had remained alive after the second mission, would there have been an vacation or not? Of course not. Most likely, from my point of view, I would most likely simply be neutralized. That's how I see it. Because if I were needed, then the Council would already be knocking on all the doors. The SBU would have already called the KGB and tried to negotiate. Simply no one needs me, and if they don't need me, it turns out that neither the SBU nor Ukraine as a state recognize that they did it, or simply no one knows about me. But your television showed me that Nikolay, a citizen of Ukraine, did this. Naturally, they know. They know that they need to keep it quiet. Considering everything said above and below, would I shake Zelensky's hand? Would I shake hands with my SBU handlers? That's bullshit. Of course, I wouldn't shake them. How can I shake hands? People who refused, betrayed me, who did not fulfill their obligations. How can I shake their hands after this? How can I trust such people? Do the actions I took bring Ukraine closer to peace? Now I'm convinced it's not so, because during the time I've been here, abandoned, lost, depressed, all that, I've had time to think about it. This was something to think about, and I came to the conclusion my perception of the world simply turned upside down. I now perceive Belarus and Belarusians far from the way they have been described and described since the beginning of 2020 in our media, like North Korea. I haven't observed this at all. Do you understand? This is a European country, in my opinion. I don't even hide the fact that I subscribe to your opposition channels. I listened to them. Naturally, I formed the view that Belarus is an enemy. Now I take it in a completely different way. I lived here for a month. I lived here for a month before I went to the detention center. I lived here for 7 months after I went to the detention center. Peace is the most important thing here, you know. There is peace here. No one is killed here. Everyone respects each other. Just such actions as I have committed look like an attempt to make some kind of mess here, to force your government to declare war, for example. What would I like to say to Ukrainians like me who are being prepared to be transported to Belarus? I want to say that there is no need to go to Belarus, blow up something, bring explosives, weapons here, or destabilize the order. Belarusians do not want war, and I think that we also do not want war with Belarus. Such actions can cause harm for the relations of our peoples. Therefore, be careful, look at my situation, and do not repeat it. I believe that these are bad methods of warfare when one's own people are abandoned like cannon fodder. In general, take responsibility for your actions, because people trust you. I trusted you. Trusted is the key word. Explosions and arson in the territory of Belarus, a peaceful state that does not want war, neither for us nor for itself, will not bring Ukraine closer to peace, but will only aggravate the situation. Do we really need this? Is this our philosophy? Who are we to incite wars in other countries, in particular in Belarus? Why do we need the second front? What are you doing? When I was driving here, I thought that the military was everywhere here at every step. Well, that's how I imagined the situation, you know. I say that for me, Belarus after 2020 was North Korea. Well, not only for me, but for everyone. North Korea. And for those who watch this video, let them try to tell me that I was drugged and made to talk like that. I'll say the same thing if I'm home. I'm Ukrainian. There is a war in my country. I came here to undermine the equipment, but to be honest, I never thought about any possible consequences, any innocent victims. I never thought about it. I didn't care, and it doesn't matter, because I just didn't think about it. Yes, I didn't think about that. I didn't care, honestly. But thank God, no one was hurt. What would I like to say to Belarusians? Take care of your peace, because war is very scary, it is death, it is complete grief. And I know what I'm talking about, I came from there. And do not allow war to come to you, do not succumb to provocation. Be grateful to those people who are courageously trying to prevent war in such difficult conditions for Belarus. What was happening to my psyche at the moment when I found myself in a pre-trial detention center for the first time? This is stress. There is no fear, because the stress is so strong that you stop perceiving the world normally. I tried my best to convince myself, yes, it's just a dream. I don't believe in this, and I don't believe that I'm in the KGB. One interrogation after another, with a camera, without a camera, and only at 4 a.m. I end up, now at 5 a.m., I end up in pre-trial detention center. They took me to a cell, well, they made the necessary records. They took me to a cell. I still don't believe it. I'm trying, well, to somehow pinch myself to wake up, but nothing. I'm in a pre-trial detention center. There's this strange smell of some kind of basement. Shabby walls, ceilings, iron bunks, some people. I just don't believe in all this. And I didn't sleep for about 3 days approximately, give or take 3 days. Even though I wanted to sleep on the second day, I just could not. I closed my eyes, but they seemed to be open. I constantly imagined something, some kind of hallucinations. It seemed to me that behind the doors someone was constantly jerking the bolt of a machine gun. That was the sound for me, because I was used to how it happens in Ukraine. They clean weapons that way or just fool around. Here is the same sound. It was repeated for several days. It was even a little scary then. Well, the attitude towards me was, no one touched me, but with all the appearances they showed that I'd done a bad thing. I don't even know how to describe this state, but it's something between probably life and death, because you even stop feeling alive. Then, in the first days, the thought crossed my mind that I was simply abandoned. No one would take me away from here. But when I first thought about it, I felt even worse. My vision was getting dark. I couldn't walk normally. An indescribable state indeed. Also an execution clause, and you're reminded in your cell that you have a capital offense, and that no one will be too fussy with you if that happens. They'll shoot you and that's it. This is terrorism, explosives. Yes, they will probably shoot you. They will even shoot you demonstratively, so that others will be discouraged. And it's very difficult, month after month. The condition is the same, it doesn't change. The apathy sets in, and that's it, you're a vegetable. I don't know what to call it. Probably a cow that stands in a stall, that lives and eats, and poops. This is how I felt. When I accepted reality, when I rethought everything that happened to me, I understood where I am. Well, I accepted where I am. I accepted the situation itself. I twisted it 10 times, what I did, what it could lead to for me. There was shock at first, and then devastation. It was like the life had been sucked out of me. That is, I went for one thing, I had one goal in blowing up the plane, which I believed in, sincerely believed, but in fact, it turns out that I was not behind this goal. It's just that someone resolved their issues with my hands, and it hurts. It is very painful to accept reality. It is painful to realize later that you are abandoned. You've been betrayed, and no one needs you. You want to cry, but you can't cry. There are no tears. I want to scream, but I can't scream. Yes, at first I very often thought that I would be shot. They might shoot you, but if you constantly think about it, you can just go crazy. I learned not to think about it. I hope my story helps me. If it doesn't help me, it will help others. Yes, my government tried to help in some way through the embassy or in other ways. It turns out that, in fact, no money was transferred to my account. It was possible for all this time, just even if you don't raise the embassy, if you don't want to admit that, yes, this is our citizen, then you could have sent it 10 times through the same cryptocurrency, this $200, so that I can buy myself pennies. Is sending parcel a problem? But the most important thing is that no one came from the embassy, no one hired a lawyer. I have a government lawyer now. The case has been going on for 7 months already. It was possible. 7 months is a wild period. Everything could be organized. I know that my loved ones and relatives would have come here 10 times already, or hired lawyer remotely. They were told not to do this. What exactly they are being told there, I don't know. I can't even guess. They can say all sorts of different things. But the fact that everyone knows that I'm here, yes, they know, but to know is one thing, and to admit is another. Do I realize that I will be shot? Could be shot? The possibility of my being shot? Yes, I probably don't fully understand, especially not to the end, because if you think about death all the time, well, you just can't stand it emotionally. But it doesn't help me. It's easier for me just not to think about it. You know, I wouldn't want to, especially for me who will always justify myself. Yes, I realized that I committed a terrorist act here. Well, that's what it's called, essentially. As for me, this death makes no sense to me. You see, such a sacrifice, just for some news buzz. Well, I mean, it means that I blew up this plane and they will shoot me. There's no point at all, you idiot. Just signed up and they'll shoot me. The most terrible thought, if you don't think about death, the worst thought is never seeing your loved ones, you know. Here it is, this moment. In general, this is the worst thing. I don't want to say anything. The worst thing is not seeing your loved ones.
Почему это самое страшное? Не хочу продолжать ничего говорить. Самое страшное — это больше не увидеть близких.
Это блестяще проведенная операция. Мы его вычислили и задержали.
Кто организатор этого теракта?
Я работал с СБУ.